Story 1. For 15 years as a Walmart manager, the constant hum of background music and PA announcements was my comforting, predictable soundtrack. It defined my entire career, a familiar monotony within those fluorescent walls. I'd grown accustomed to every sonic detail, from the squeak of shopping cart wheels to the tinny voice of the PA system. This happened to me, a deep familiarity I once found reassuring, almost like a second home. Then it started, subtly, almost imperceptibly, like a faint ripple in the familiar soundscape. A distortion, a whisper beneath the music, just as my name was called for a routine task on the PA. I dismissed it as static, a faulty speaker, or maybe just my own fatigue. This happened often, small technical glitches were common, but the feeling lingered, a tiny prickle of unease I couldn't shake. The distortions grew more frequent, always coinciding with my name or a specific task I was assigned. "Manager to electronics, please," followed by that faint, unsettling hiss like breath on my neck. It wasn't just static anymore, it was evolving. A low murmur, almost like words, just beyond the edge of comprehension. I thought I was imagining things, working too many hours, losing my grip. I started questioning my own sanity. Was I hearing things? Was the endless monotony finally breaking me? I tried to ignore it, to focus on the endless demands of my job, but it persisted. One evening, while restocking toiletries, I distinctly heard my name, not from the usual announcer, but from that evolving whisper. Then, a phrase, "Thinking about quitting, aren't you?" My blood ran cold. That was a private thought, a fleeting doubt I'd had just that morning. I spun around, scanning the empty aisle, convinced someone was playing a cruel trick on me. No one was there, just the usual hum of the refrigerators and the distant music. The PA system, however, felt different now, charged with a new, unsettling presence, aware of my every thought. The whispers grew clearer, no longer just static but actual words. Intimate details about my day, my thoughts, things I hadn't voiced aloud, seemingly plucked from my own mind by the PA system. It spoke of my argument with my sister that morning, the one I hadn't told anyone about. "She always was difficult, wasn't she?" the voice cooed from the ceiling speaker in aisle 5. I started checking the PA system, the wiring, the central control unit. Everything was in perfect order. No one could be spoofing it. This wasn't a prank, this was something else entirely. The voice knew my anxieties about my son's college applications. "He'll never get into that school," it hissed during a lull in customers. I felt a cold dread spread through me. It wasn't just my present thoughts, it delved into my past. Memories I'd buried, childhood embarrassments, regrets. The PA system was a malicious oracle, plucking secrets from my very soul. The voice escalated, revealing deeply personal secrets and anxieties. It spoke of my secret crush on a coworker, the one I'd never admit to anyone. "He barely notices you," it sneered. I started avoiding certain areas of the store, certain speakers, but it was no use. The voice followed me, shifting from one speaker to another, a malevolent omnipresence. My sleep suffered. Every night I heard echoes of its taunts, its revelations. I was exhausted, paranoid, constantly looking over my shoulder, even in my own home. The voice began to question my sanity, subtly, insidiously. "Are you sure you're well, my name? Perhaps a break would do you good, a very long break." It knew about the small lie I told my boss about a missing inventory report. "Careful, my name, your integrity is fragile," it whispered during the morning meeting. The store itself felt different. The familiar sounds now felt menacing, the cheerful music a thin veil over something ancient and sinister. The aisles seemed longer, darker. I started feeling a strange pull, a compulsion to stay after hours. The voice hinted at secrets, at power. If only I would listen, if only I would stay. The voice escalated its personal attacks. It spoke of my deepest fears, my fear of failure, of being alone. "You're already alone, aren't you?" it hissed from the frozen food section. It wasn't just words, it was an emotional assault. The voice echoed my self-doubt, amplified my insecurities, making me question if I was losing my grip on reality. Or if the store itself knew me too well, not just as an employee, but as a soul, a vessel. The thought was more terrifying than any ghost story I'd ever heard. The whispers turned to commands, initially minor, almost innocuous. Straighten the display in aisle 3. I found myself obeying without thinking, a puppet on unseen strings. Then they became unsettling. "Don't report that shoplifting incident." A small voice of resistance fought within me, but the compulsion was stronger, a chilling new authority. The commands escalated. "Leave the back door slightly ajar tonight." My heart pounded. This was dangerous, a violation of protocol, but the voice was insistent, hypnotic. I felt a growing sense of dread, a chilling understanding that I was no longer in control. This wasn't just a voice, it was an entity weaving itself into the fabric of my will. It urged me to perform increasingly sinister tasks. Go to the unused basement storage after hours. There's something waiting for you there, something that wants to meet you. I resisted, fought against the insidious suggestions, but the voice punished me with amplified taunts, a cacophony of my deepest fears echoing through the store only for me. The commands became more specific, more targeted. "Move the security camera in aisle 12 just slightly so it misses the corner." My hands trembled as I complied. I started feeling an almost physical connection to the PA system. When it spoke, a cold sensation would spread through my chest, a chilling resonance with its words. The voice promised me knowledge, power, if I fully surrendered. "Become my eyes, my ears, my voice, and you will see what others cannot." The temptation was perverse, terrifying. This wasn't just a store, it was a living, breathing entity, and I was being groomed. Groomed to be its conduit, its puppet, its voice in the mundane world. One night, I was the last one left, alone during closing. The silence was heavy, oppressive, waiting. I felt its presence more strongly than ever before. I finished my rounds, the only sound my footsteps echoing through the empty aisles. Then, a low rumble started, not from the PA, but from everywhere at once. The PA system roared to life, not the usual crackle, but a deep, resonant voice echoing throughout the empty store. It was no longer a whisper, but a shout, a command. It spoke of ancient times, of being here before the store, before the land was settled. "I have always been here. You are merely the one who finally listened." The voice was pure malevolence, revealing its desire to make me its permanent conduit. "Join me, and we shall be one, your voice, my will." The air grew cold, the lights flickered violently. I felt an invisible force pressing down on me, trying to merge with my very being, trying to possess me. I fought back with every fiber of my being, screaming, trying to break free from the invisible grip. This wasn't a job anymore, this was a fight for my soul. The voice intensified, 1,000 voices speaking as one, demanding my surrender. "You belong to me now, this store is mine, and you are its voice." I saw an opening, a momentary lapse in its overwhelming assault, a flicker of hope, a desperate surge of adrenaline. I had to get out now. Scrambling, crawling, I somehow reached the front doors. My hands fumbled with the locks, my breath ragged, the voice roaring behind me, furious at my escape. I burst out into the cool night air, gasping, not looking back. The sound of the PA system, now a monstrous roar, seemed to follow me, echoing in the quiet street. I ran until my lungs burned, until I couldn't run anymore. I never returned to that Walmart, never even drove past it again. I fled, leaving my entire life behind. My new life is silent, but the silence is haunted. Every mundane sound, every distant murmur makes my heart pound. The phantom whispers linger, a chilling echo in my mind. I'll never forget that night, the terror, the malevolent voice. I still wonder if the Walmart PA system's secret is still there, waiting, listening for its next victim. And sometimes, late at night when the world is quietest, I swear I can still hear it. A faint, almost imperceptible whisper calling my name, asking me to come back to the store. Story 2, I'd worked the night shift at Walmart's stockroom for 3 monotonous years. It was predictable, soul-crushing until that Tuesday night in October. This happened to me. My routine was set: unload, scan, organize, every box accounted for, or so I thought. This night the air felt strangely heavy, different. A new, particularly large shipment arrived. The truck rumbled, disgorging pallets. I began my meticulous check, manifest in hand, comparing it to the goods. A discrepancy appeared, not a missing item, but something extra. My eyes landed on it, an anomaly amidst the familiar cardboard. There it was, a heavy, unmarked wooden crate, unlike anything I'd seen in 3 years, rough-hewn, foreboding, no entry on any manifest. Curiosity and annoyance drove me to open it. Sealed tight, no labels, just raw, dark wood. It felt ancient, out of place. The weight was unsettling, far heavier than its size suggested, unnaturally dense. A cold sensation emanated as I tried to budge it. After a struggle with a crowbar, I pried it open. The wood groaned, splitting too loudly. A faint, earthy scent escaped the darkness. Inside wasn't merchandise, not clothes, not electronics. Instead, strange, dark artifacts lay nestled in coarse straw. My heart pounded with dread. Petrified wood, twisted grotesquely, oddly shaped stones, smooth yet menacing, cold to the touch, and a rolled-up parchment tied with string. A cold dread settled. This was beyond a shipping error, something ancient, not belonging in a Walmart backroom. This happened to me. I unrolled the parchment, a crude hand-drawn map, not aisles or departments, but something far older, unsettling. My breath hitched in fear. Faint symbols and lines, unlike any I'd seen, crisscrossed the aged paper. Runic, indecipherable, yet profoundly significant and chilling. The map centered on a point, a distinct mark directly beneath where the Walmart stood. A chilling revelation, a knot in my stomach. It hinted at something ancient, forgotten, a history buried deep, not just a building but a cover. A cold sweat trickled. Over the next few shifts, the backroom felt different, the usual drone overshadowed by an unsettling atmosphere. I couldn't shake it. A persistent, earthy smell permeated the air, not fresh soil but damp, ancient earth recently disturbed. Subtle at first, then pervasive. Faint, rhythmic scraping sounds, always when alone, always from asterisk below asterisk. A dragging, scratching sound beneath the concrete slab. Not rats, too deliberate, too heavy, something massive shifting, carving rock. Hairs on my arms stood on end. My blood ran cold. I couldn't shake the crate or map. They haunted my thoughts, invading dreams. I had to understand. I'll never forget that night. During breaks, hunched over my phone, I researched the symbols. Obscure forums, forgotten mythologies, ancient cults. A terrifying rabbit hole. Vague, unsettling connections. Whispers of buried places, forgotten entities predating history. Pieces clicked, forming a horrifying picture. The map pulled me, a morbid fascination, a primal urge, not just paper, a key, beckoning me to a terrible secret. One quiet night, the scraping intensified, louder, more frantic, directly beneath me, no longer a whisper, it was a demand. Overwhelmed by compulsion, I had to follow the map. Every fiber screamed, but a stronger force pulled me forward into the unknown. The map's clues led to an old, rarely used utility panel, furthest, dustiest corner obscured by forgotten shelving. Trembling, I forced the panel open, not pipes but a gaping maw. A crudely dug passage descended into total, suffocating darkness. The earthy smell was overwhelming, stronger, suffocating, filling my lungs. It reeked of ancient decay and something far worse, primal. I grabbed my flashlight, its beam a weak path into the abyss, each step a battle. This was a terrible mistake. I didn't go far. The passage was tight, claustrophobic, but the air grew heavy, thick with unseen presence. My heart hammered. The scraping became clearer, closer, all around, reverberating through earth, a guttural, predatory sound right beside me. Then I felt it, a presence, not seen but profoundly felt, ancient, malevolent, a hunger pulsed in the air. It was waiting, beyond my flashlight's beam, in impenetrable darkness, primordial evil, disturbed. I felt its chilling gaze upon me. This wasn't just dirt, it was history, living, breathing history, buried and hungry, waiting for someone to open its door. And I had opened that door. My hand, holding the flashlight, trembled uncontrollably. I knew with certainty I was not welcome. I stumbled backward, scrambling. Escape was my only thought. Get out, seal it away, never look back at that horror. With adrenaline, I slammed the panel shut. The clang echoed. I jammed a rusty bolt in place, sealing the terror within. I reported the crate damaged and disposed of. A simple, accepted lie. No one questioned the paperwork. My secret was safe. The next day, I job hunted. The backroom, once mundane, was now unbearable dread. I couldn't spend another night there. A week later, I quit. No notice, just a quick exit. I walked out of Walmart for the last time, terrified yet relieved. I never told anyone the full truth. Who would believe me? Ancient evils beneath a retail store, they'd think I was crazy. But driving past that Walmart, I still feel that pull. A subtle, insidious tug like a forgotten limb, always there beneath the surface. That lingering chill, it creeps into my bones, a reminder of the darkness. The mundane facade hides a truth too terrible to comprehend. Knowing what lies beneath, silently waiting for another curious soul, another misplaced crate, another door to open. This happened to me. The artifacts are still with me, hidden, locked in a chest, a tangible link to that night. I can't destroy them. And the map, cryptic symbols burn in memory, a roadmap to terror, a guide to what I wish I'd never found. It whispers. I wonder if the scraping continues, if the earth beneath still groans, if the presence stirs, growing stronger, waiting for release. The backroom, a forgotten corner, holds a mind-bending secret, a secret I barely escaped, still haunting my every waking moment. I think of the oblivious employees, unaware that beneath their feet something ancient and hungry bides its time. Ignorance is bliss. The Walmart backroom's unlisted crate was just the beginning. The door is closed but not sealed. It will open again. Story 3. My seasonal job at the Walmart Garden Center began normally. It was late spring, a mundane rhythm of watering and stocking. The air smelled of soil and fertilizer just as it should. I recall those first few weeks vividly. The sun was warm, the customers were cheerful, and the biggest challenge was keeping the petunias from wilting. It felt like an easy gig. Then I started noticing the petunias. They were growing too fast, their blooms unnaturally vibrant. It was subtle at first, just a slight oddity in their rapid expansion. A faint, sickly sweet odor began to permeate the air. I dismissed it, thinking it was a new, potent fertilizer or perhaps a particularly fragrant batch of flowers from a new supplier. This happened to me. The smell, initially dismissed, lingered. It was cloying, almost like rotting fruit but with a chemical edge, slowly becoming more noticeable each day. The petunia's growth continued, their tendrils stretching further, faster. It was beyond what any normal plant could achieve, even with the best care. It felt aggressive. Soon, other plants joined the bizarre spectacle. The tomato vines, usually predictable, began to stretch and contort in unnatural ways, their leaves subtly shifting. I'd watch their leaves sway even when there was no breeze, a silent, unsettling dance. My mind struggled to rationalize it, blaming air conditioning drafts or my imagination. The sickly sweet odor intensified daily, becoming cloying and nauseating. It clung to my clothes, seeped into my skin. I couldn't escape it, even after leaving work. Customers started commenting, "What's that smell? Your plants look robust." Their casual remarks only amplified my growing unease about the garden center. A constant, subtle dread began to settle in the garden center. It wasn't just the smell or the growth, it was a feeling of being watched, an unseen presence. A strange, draining fatigue plagued me. It wasn't just physical exhaustion from work. It felt deeper, as if something was slowly siphoning my energy, leaving me hollow. I tried to find logical explanations. Maybe a new chemical, an exotic species. I combed through inventory logs and safety data sheets, but found nothing. The garden center felt different after hours. The silence was oppressive, broken only by the rustling of leaves that seemed too loud, too deliberate in the darkness. I started bringing a flashlight, even in well-lit areas. The shadows seemed to move, and the plants pulsed with a life that was deeply unsettling. The dread intensified into a cold, creeping certainty. Something was deeply wrong here. This wasn't just aggressive horticulture, it was something malevolent. I decided I had to investigate. The oldest, densest planter bed, where the smell was strongest and the growth most aggressive, became my target. I suspected an unusual fungus or perhaps an invasive pest. My rational mind desperately clung to these scientific possibilities, trying to ward off darker thoughts. Waiting until closing, I grabbed a small trowel and gloves. My hands trembled slightly as I approached the overgrown bed, the sickly sweet scent overwhelming. This was the point of no return. Every instinct screamed at me to leave, but a morbid curiosity, a need to know, compelled me to dig. I plunged the trowel into the rich soil. It felt unusually soft, almost spongy. The earth seemed to yield too easily, like disturbed flesh. Beneath the surface, I expected normal roots. What I found was anything but. The first tendrils were dark, thick, and surprisingly resilient. They weren't just roots, they were a network, a grotesque, pulsating web of fibrous tendrils, far too large and alien to be from any known plant. A viscous, black fluid seeped from them, staining the soil. It smelled faintly of decay, but also something else I couldn't quite place, something ancient and metallic. The pulsing was rhythmic, like a slow, deep heartbeat. It vibrated through the trowel, up my arm, and into my very bones. I felt it resonate within me. Panic seized me. This wasn't a fungus. This wasn't a pest. This was alive, and it was deeply, profoundly wrong. My breath hitched in my throat. A wave of primal fear washed over me. My mind screamed at me to flee, but my feet felt rooted, held captive by the horrifying spectacle. I saw a horrifying, fleeting mental image. Not just roots, but a gaping maw, teeth of soil and tendril, devouring something unseen beneath the concrete foundation. This root system was an entity unto itself, ancient and hungry. It was feeding on something unspeakable, something buried deep beneath the store. It was subtly influencing everything around it. The accelerated growth, the sickening scent, the draining fatigue, all were manifestations of its malevolent will. The plants weren't just growing, they were extensions of this monstrous thing, its tendrils reaching, grasping, asserting its dominion over the garden center. I could almost hear a faint, guttural hum, a low, thrumming sound emanating from the depths, a sound of immense power and insatiable hunger. My entire body started to shake uncontrollably. The air grew heavy, thick with the cloying odor and an oppressive, unseen weight. I backed away slowly, my eyes never leaving the pulsating horror. Every fiber of my being screamed for escape, for distance from this abomination. My trowel clattered to the ground. I didn't care. Nothing mattered but putting as much space as possible between me and that thing. I stumbled through the rows of plants, their leaves seeming to reach for me, to whisper with the entity's silent hunger. My heart pounded like a drum. I burst out of the garden center, gasping for breath, into the relative sanity of the deserted main store. The fluorescent lights felt like a blessing. The sickly sweet odor still clung to me, a phantom presence. I could almost taste the decay, the metallic tang, even out here. I clocked out, ignoring the bewildered gaze of the night manager. I didn't care about explanations, I only cared about getting away. I drove home in a cold sweat, the image of those pulsating tendrils burned into my retinas. Sleep was impossible that night, haunted by dark, growing things. The next morning I called Walmart. My voice was shaky, my excuse flimsy, personal emergency. I quit on the spot, no notice, no regrets. I couldn't bring myself to set foot in a Walmart again, especially not the garden center. The thought alone sent shivers down my spine. Weeks turned into months. The memory faded slightly, but the chilling certainty remained. Something unspeakable still thrived beneath that store. I found a new job, tried to move on, but every time I saw a healthy plant, a part of me flinched, remembering the unnatural vibrancy. The sickly sweet odor, that cloying chemical decay, occasionally wafted into my dreams, a phantom scent that woke me in a cold sweat. I'll never forget that night, the silent, hungry growth, the pulsating darkness. It changed how I saw the world forever. It was a constant, unsettling reminder of what lies just beneath the surface of our everyday world, hidden in plain sight. Sometimes I wonder if anyone else noticed, if other employees felt the draining fatigue or dismissed the smell as merely garden center air. I imagine it still growing, spreading its tendrils, silently consuming whatever lies beneath, patiently waiting for new sustenance. And I wonder what will happen when it finally reaches the foundation, when it breaks through and truly reveals itself to the unsuspecting world above. Story 4. This happened to me. I'm Jenna, a weary Walmart customer service rep. My job was soul-crushing monotony. My anxieties always simmered. Fluorescent lights droned, another endless shift. I felt like a grinding cog. This job was slowly eating me alive. Bills piled up, silent accusations. Financial worries crushed my spirit. I felt truly trapped, no escape in sight. I'd stare at the automatic doors, fantasizing escape. But where? Minimum wage handcuffs kept me tethered to this purgatory. Then things shifted, a slow, creeping wrongness. A discordant note began to play in the endless complaints. A woman complained cereal boxes rearranged themselves. They just moved, she insisted, eyes wide. I dismissed it. A man swore the toy aisle displays shifted. Impossible, I thought, but his face, subtly off, lingered. It was hard to pinpoint, not disfigured but a flatness, a lack of expression, like a poorly rendered character. A teenager claimed whispers from empty aisles. 1,000 voices, he shivered, my skin crawled. The complaints grew stranger yet similar, moving objects, whispers. A pattern was undeniably forming. I started looking for it, that subtle wrongness in their eyes, a vacant stare. It was in almost everyone. The canned goods just slid, one woman stated, flat voice. Another repeated the exact phrase later. My stomach churned with dread. This wasn't just tired customers. Something inexplicable was happening. I started feeling it too, a prickling sensation. Unseen eyes tracking my every move, even behind the desk. A man swore he saw a shadow detach from a wall. It just peeled off, he stammered. My hands trembled. Then complaints echoed my turmoil. A woman, face a mask, complained of feeling stuck in a loop. My money just vanishes, a man declared, voice flat. My own financial anxiety screamed. A young mother told me I can't escape this place, it feels like a cage. My heart pounded. Every day is the same, a tired man droned, an endless, meaningless cycle. My daily dread echoed. They were reading my mind, broadcasting my vulnerable thoughts through hollowed people. A cruel game. Their voices were always flat, devoid of emotion, programmed, articulating my unvoiced fears precisely. I suspected every customer, real complaint or echo, the line blurred, my grip on reality slipping. The walls are closing in, a woman whispered. Another repeated the exact words an hour later. The specifics varied, but the core anxiety was identical, a chorus of my fears sung by strangers. Their eyes were the worst, vacant, programmed like mannequins animated by something sinister. Then it started happening to me, fleeting shadows just at the edge of my vision, then gone. My pen would roll off, then reappear, forms askew though I'd straighten them, unsettling. The feeling of unseen eyes intensified, not just aisles behind the counter in the break room, everywhere. My lunch bag moved, my water bottle shifted, too precise for a prank, this was real. Was I cracking, sleep deprivation, or was the store itself playing tricks? My sanity slipped. I started hearing them too, faint, indistinct whispers just beyond comprehension, a murmur. The store felt different, heavier, the air thick with dread, the hum vibrated with sinister energy. A carton of milk once tipped over right in front of me. No one nearby, it was deliberate. I knew then it wasn't just customers, something else was here, feeding on collective unease. Every shift became a test against an invisible, insidious force, a living nightmare, wide awake. The phone rang, customer service, Jenna speaking. A flat voice replied, devoid of inflection. I'm calling about the entity, the voice said. It feeds on echoes of fear. My blood ran cold. It knows your fear of being forgotten, Jenna, it droned, of never escaping, of fading away. It knows about the debt, loneliness, the endless loop, the voice continued, each word a cold spike. I dropped the phone, the line went dead, my hands shook uncontrollably, this was no customer. An elderly woman approached, gaunt, hollow-eyed, a grotesque parody of humanity, my breath hitched. She didn't complain, she just stared, mouth slowly opening, her voice a distorted echo of my thoughts. You're a failure, Jenna, she rasped. Trapped, alone, you'll never leave, my secret fears recited. In her vacant eyes I glimpsed it, a predatory, formless shadow, the entity speaking through her. I couldn't distinguish real customers from the entity's mouthpieces anymore, every face a mask. I walked out that day, left Walmart, never looking back, the uniform, the badge, all behind me. But the echoes persisted, they followed me home into my quiet apartment, the whispers, the feeling. I see that wrongness everywhere now, a flicker in strangers' eyes, a flat tone, it's in the world. I constantly wonder if the entity has latched onto me, feeding on my fear, growing stronger. The horror continues. I am just another echo now, a vessel for its whispers, forever listening. Story 5, just another Tuesday, Walmart trip, stack of jeans in hand. Fitting room number 7, dusty but private, seemed perfect. I stepped inside, closing the heavy curtain. Air was stale, hung my clothes, ready for my solo fashion show. Changing, a prickling sensation crawled up my spine, feeling watched. I glanced over my shoulder at the empty room. Dismissed it, blamed fluorescent lights or fatigue. Just nerves, I told myself. This happened to me sometimes. Then faint whispers began, like static beyond the mirror. I paused, straining to hear. It vanished, my heart quickened. My reflection flickered, a fleeting distortion, a shadow moving at my vision's edge. I blinked, mirror still. Told myself it was cheap glass, tried on jeans, forcing focus. Ignored the growing unease, I needed to focus. Whispers returned, clearer, low, guttural murmur, no words, unsettling. a deep, resonant vibration in the air. My reflection warped again, gaunt, shadowy figure behind me mimicking my movements with unsettling delay. Movements a fraction behind mine, breath hitched, not a trick of light, this was undeniably real. Whispers solidified into a chilling, raspy voice. It murmured my name. Amelia, it hissed from inside my head from the mirror. Panic set in, cold, suffocating, heart hammered, stared at the mirror trying to comprehend what I saw, what I heard. The mirror was too dark, too deep, not reflecting, observing, a window into something malevolent, ancient. Air grew impossibly cold, spectral breath on my neck, felt its presence, a tangible weight-stealing warmth. Tried to move, reach for curtain, limbs heavy, unresponsive, wading through invisible treacle, I had to escape. Curtain felt impossibly heavy, jammed shut. I tugged, no budge, trapped, my blood ran cold. Figure in mirror solidified, clearer, tall, gaunt, spindly limbs. Its eyes began to glow. They glowed with sickening, malevolent intent, fixed on my terrified reflection. Couldn't look away, mesmerized by pure evil. Shadowy hand, skeletal, reached from mirror's surface, rippled like water, threatening to pull me in. Voice, raspy hiss behind me, promised I'd never leave. Words echoed deep within my bones. Primal terror surged, overriding paralysis. I had to fight, escape this nightmare, it wouldn't take me. With a guttural scream, I slammed my fist against the mirror. Impact vibrated, glass intact, mocking. Entity in mirror recoiled, glowing eyes narrowed. My scream startled it, granting a precious second. Lunged at curtain again, adrenaline fueled. Pulled with all might, a frantic, desperate burst of strength. Sudden, jarring rip, curtain tore free, stumbled backward, tumbling into empty aisle, gasping for breath. Body shaking uncontrollably, nerves screaming. Scrambled to my feet, legs burning, distance from that room. Left clothes, horror, everything behind. Only thought, escape Walmart, escape fitting room 7. Ran through deserted aisles, mannequins watched, displays blurred, my heart pounded a frantic drum. Didn't stop until I burst through automatic doors into cool night air. Parking lot lights, welcome normalcy. Dared to look back, fitting room area normal, empty, torn curtain gone, replaced, no sign of terror. No one believed my frantic story. Manager found nothing, just a messy customer. They saw no horror. Friends, family dismissed it. Stress, imagination, told me to rest. They didn't see glowing eyes, feel cold touch. Didn't hear my name whispered, nor see shadowy hand from glass, beyond their comprehension. Now I avoid mirrors, especially public ones. Cover them at home, that gaze fills me with dread. Memory of cold touch, raspy promise haunts me, permanent scar on my psyche, I'll never forget. I know it's still there, waiting, fitting room 7, mirror a portal, its hunting ground, I was lucky. But others, who's next? Will someone wander into that dusty room, unaware of lurking horror? Tried to warn people, but my words sounded like madness. Explaining a Walmart mirror entity is impossible. Memory replays, flickering reflection, whispers, delayed mimicry, cold breath, a loop of terror. Does the entity feed on fear, growing stronger? My terror must have nourished it, giving it power. Late at night, faint static whispers. I cover my ears, knowing it's still connected to me, still there. I feel its gaze even miles away. Phantom chill deeper than skin to my soul. I am marked. Fitting room 7, empty, unassuming. A trap in plain sight, waiting for the next shopper. Has the mirror always been this way, or did something awaken it, a previous victim, tormenting questions? Shopping trip was routine, simple errand. Instead, it became the day I met pure, unadulterated evil. Still see its glowing eyes when I close mine, burn into memory, constant reminder, horror never over. Tried therapy, medication to dull the nightmare, but some horrors are too real, too ingrained to forget. World seems darker now, less safe, every reflection a threat, every quiet corner a lurking presence. I live with vigilance, a silent scream trapped. Walmart fitting room's gaze changed me forever. Haunted survivor. Hope fitting room 7 stays empty forever, because I know with chilling certainty the entity still waits, always.